He is the first deaf-blind person to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. Most recently, this pioneer from Grand Rapids ran the Boston Marathon. Bill Barkley discusses his passion for educating the public about not letting physical disability stop you from enjoying life and reaching your goals on Newsmakers. The Boston Marathon is 26.2 miles. The 116th running was held in 90-degree heat. For the able-bodied, it's not an easy task. How does someone with disabilities physically and emotionally accept the challenge, train, and then cross the finish line? Bill Barkley is here to tell us about running his own path. I know you talk about walking your own path. Here you are running your own path.
Yeah.
All right, Mount Kilimanjaro, check. Boston Marathon. What was the inspiration here?
You know, it's like a bunch of things coming together at once, but I'm on a board of Metro Health, and we were talking a lot about a healthier you and doing some programs for the community. I'd had emergency back surgery in the fall, and so I was getting back healthy myself. My 50th birthday was coming up, and I wanted to find a way to get my sons and kids involved in some of the work that I've been doing to push the envelope on people with disabilities and no barriers. So I had to see my doctor in Boston for my disease, which is deaf blindness and Usher syndrome. And they invited me and said, would you be interested in running the Boston Marathon? And I just knew in a moment that I wanted to do it and that it would be really cool, because what inspired me was raising money for research. So we raised over $300,000. And then crossing the finish line with my 3 sons across the Boston Marathon, it was just an incredible experience.
Before every show, I stop by the control booth. We have, you know, young adults who are on the staff here, and I was explaining our guest. And, you know, for, you know, these young 20-somethings, they can't believe it. Knowing, you know, your condition, let's put a real wow factor on this. Let's talk about your hearing and what it is that you do see to set the stage for what it's like to run in a marathon with the things that you deal with every day.
Yeah, the challenge for me was I lost 85% of my hearing in the low tone before the age of 5, and then I have 100% loss in the high tone. So I use hearing aids, and then a portable wireless hearing system with Bluetooth technology that allows me to communicate with a guide for the race. That was the hearing component, if you will. But then in my mid-20s, when I was about 27, I started having trouble driving at night, had a series of car crashes, and found out after about a year's process of going through it that I was going progressively blind and that it was connected to my hearing. And so I then found out that I was on a path to deaf blindness that was progressive. There were no treatments and no cures. And so essentially my vision right now is 20 degrees. I can see straight ahead. I've got cataracts, but I have no peripheral up, down, or to the sides. So the biggest challenge for me is that also fluctuates widely. So if it's a bright sunny day, I've got 20 degrees. But if it's not and it's cloudy and dark, I'm even less. So the challenge was to put people in front of me in a pack of 25,000 people running the Boston Marathon that could help me guide through the pitfalls that I was going to face doing the 26.2 miles.
So straight ahead, what do you see right now?
As I see you, I have to focus on the part of your face that I want to focus on. So it's either going to be your eyes and then your hair, or I'm going to focus on your lips and then not see your hair and your eyes. So since I am hearing impaired, a big part of my communication strategy is reading lips.
So in the race, are you just looking at the bib ahead of you? You said you do have some folks kind of monitoring your progress who are running with you. They can't touch you in the race.
Correct.
So kind of give me a sense of the communication that's going on as you're, I don't know, you're in mile 5. What's going on?
Well, yeah, the beginning and the end were the worst from the standpoint of total numbers of people. In the middle and third parts of the race, it's more drawn out. So the strategies evolve. But essentially, in the beginning of the pack, it's about somebody being in front of me, and then I focus on their bib that allows me to know that I can fall in the vacuum behind them and go forward. But then the wireless system has to kick in because they're not facing me. And so in the microphone, then they tell you, you know, you can go right or left or to the other, another direction. But largely one of the biggest things that we did was we moved to the left side of the road where there's a white line. And as long as I could follow the white line, that reduced the need for audible command, because I knew that the white line usually didn't go into the gutter or the ditch, and then it also didn't get me too far into the road. So As we got further out into it, it was really more about putting someone a little over to the side of me so that they could be with me. And then just kind of make sure that everybody around us knew that if they were going to pass us or we were passing them, that I was there. So we would alert them, you know, to your left, deaf-blind runner, and then we would go around. And so they were actually communicating with other people in the race about what was going on, so that they were so focused on trying to accomplish the goal themselves that they didn't get distracted by something that suddenly happened to them as well.
As if that were not enough. This was not the typical Patriots Day in Boston and the marathon.
No.
I mentioned in the open the 90-degree heat. That was just the temperature, right?
Absolutely.
Then you get into the heat index. There's humidity.
Yes.
Okay, so what happens? Race officials come out and tell the runners what?
Well, before we even started, they were discouraging people from running the race. They told people to, if you were going to run, focus on the experience and not the personal record. They said that if you were a runner at an hour, hour and a half to your time, this is not the Boston Marathon to go perform. They also said if you want to defer to next year, go to next year, and we'll just start over. And so it was a difficult decision, but they also said if you'd never run a marathon before, probably not do it because of the fact of the heat index component of the equation. Being on the road for 4 hours, the body suddenly will start to not be able to cool down, and as a result, the heat exhaustion comes into play. So as it turned out, about 4,300 people just simply dropped out of the race.
Out of how many? How many
There's
people?
25,000 people in the field. 4,300 just dropped out as the race ran its course. There were a few thousand others that just simply deferred to next year. And then out of that total group, 2,000 people ended up in the medical tent seeking medical attention. And once I got across the finish line, I was one of those people.
Well, to even start the race, I mean, hey, it's Bill Barkley.
The race started in 80 degrees to start with. And it just kept escalating as we got into the 26.2 miles into downtown Boston.
So it was deceiving for a lot of people, right? They're like, okay,
Yeah.
it's 80, I can handle this. But the race starts early. I mean, it's only going to get warmer throughout the day.
Exactly.
Was it humid?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the actual humidity was, but essentially the way the heat index works is that it's the amount of time that you're out there plus the humidity level that the human body just simply starts to break down. So just like in Chicago a few years ago when they had all the heat issues, they just simply, once the clock gets to a certain point, they start to shut the race down because people's bodies will start to betray them. And essentially, I had a great, strong pace all the way through 24 miles, and then literally the wheels just started to fall off with 2.2 miles to go.
Now here are the top finishers. Imagine that, three
Yeah.
Kenyans, and I probably will butcher these names. Wesley Korer, 2 hours, 12 minutes, 40 seconds. Levi Matebo, 2 hours, 13 minutes, 6 seconds. Bernard Kipyego, 2 hours, 13 minutes, 13 seconds.
Yeah.
An American comes in fourth. Jason Hartman, 2 hours, 14 minutes, 31 seconds. And 50-year-old Bill Barkley,
Yeah.
I don't know the official finish here, but hey, be proud. 4 hours, 59 minutes, and as they were saying, you're talking about an added hour here. So,
Yeah.
in your mind, really under 4 hours in a typical marathon.
I was thrilled to finish, and I've been honored by people that have been running and stuff who've sent me notes and messages saying that was really an impressive performance for your first marathon. But a lot of it just got down to just, what's your purpose and what do you want to do? And so I had great guides. I had a good feeling going into it, some great training people from all over Grand Rapids that helped me, mental sports medicine, trainers, family members, community members that run. And so they were helping me. And then the fact that we were raising money, I knew if we got across the finish line that we'd accomplish the goal. So not knowing a lot of the factors going into it probably just helps me. You just go because you just want to get to the end.
So much of it is psychological, right? I mean, that's
It was as mentally challenging as it was physically, and that's one of the things that they've been talking about. This being probably one of the top 5 hardest Bostons, was that no matter how hard you could try, no matter how hard you had trained, and I mean, people take years to qualify and be able to do it. They can't stop Mother Nature and the heat index, and when it does decide to hit, it will hit. I know people, for example, who've run 30 marathons that did not finish and found themselves in an IV tent well before the end of the race. I know other people that, managed to get through and almost had personal best. So it's very hard to predict.
Do you think you're a little more psychologically stronger than the typical person because of what you've gone through in life? I mean, to deal with the idea that, hey, I'm losing my hearing, I'm losing my vision, that's a real punch in the gut. But then to deal with it, to wrap your arms around it, and to go on in life, it's a challenge. Do you think psychologically over time you're a little bit stronger than most people because of that?
I don't know if I'm stronger as much as that. It's about what your purpose is for doing something. And then when you start to hit the tough patches of it, you got something bigger than all of us, that's going to guide you. You got your physical stuff that can guide you. You got the people helping you, the guides and other people. But, there comes a point where you have to reach deep down. And then when you realize that there's something stronger than you, than what's in your way, then it starts to just like elevate you, kind of take you at a different plane. And I don't know if that's really that I'm stronger in that sense. It's really about that the mental plane that you get into is really about who you're doing it for. And it wasn't about me doing the Boston Marathon. It was really about raising money for research for a disease I really cared about and that a lot of people would be impacted by. And so that just drove me. As I had lost more and more confidence and things going on around me, I just stayed the course and then just hoped for the best.
How much money did you raise?
$320,000, the team.
Did you have a number in mind?
Yeah, we were shooting for about 350. We think we're going to pretty much get there by the time all the contributions come in at the end of the week.
Once those checks start clearing
exactly.
and they get into some hands.
Yeah.
So you get through that psychologically. When do you begin training?
The process for training for me started in late December, day after Christmas.
Perfect.
Yeah.
You carved up
Boom.
Christmas Day. All right,
ready
to go.
Yeah.
So take
and
me
it
through.
went right up to the day before the race.
What was your typical training day? Did you take some breaks in between to let your body kind of rest and rejuvenate, or was it a
no,
7-day
basically
week?
every Tuesday was hill day, every Saturday was long day, and then all I did was different. Then during the course of the week was anywhere. All the other days was either 4 or 5 miles a day. I only had one day off a week, which was every Friday. But the long run varied each month. So I would go really long, and then I would go shorter. So for example, I'd go on a Saturday 10 miles. Then the following I would go 12 miles. Then the following I would go 18, and then I peaked at 21. And then I go back to 10 miles, and then I go back to 12, and then build back up again. So the body was constantly, going up, 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 and then down, down, up, up, up.
Where did you go in town to train? Were there specific hills? Did you do the Michigan Hill here, or where did you go?
I got lucky. I had a lot of personal things going on, so I did Reed's Lake a lot. I had to do a lot in the early going because of my situation indoors on a running track, because the ice and snow are not exactly friendly to my style of having to train. And then also, I was fortunate, thank God. I think it was one of the factors in this race for me, was I had to go to Arizona, I had to go to California, I had to go to Hawaii, I had to go to Tampa, Florida, and I found myself in Bermuda, or the Bahamas, I should say, and I ran in all those places. So I had heat and I had humidity, and I think it really helped me going into the Boston.
Yeah, in this one case, this
Just 1 year of all years.
Yeah.
That running experience. I think that's why I'm saying I think sometimes things are just bigger than you realize, because I would have never thought that it would be one of the hottest Bostons on record, and that I would also be training in environments to help me.
Who helped train you?
Largely it was myself doing it each day, and a lot of cross-training stuff too. And then I would just have family and friends volunteer, come and help and do various runs with me.
When the race wrapped up, you and I were talking before the show started, and I'm like, wow, you're in great shape. You lost 7 pounds.
Yes, this week, yes.
And you're having a tough time right now, kind of.
Yeah, the heat exhaustion piece was huge. I had trouble cooling my body down, so I couldn't breathe very well. I was really hot. And then I was sick, I was vomiting. And I had this mental lightheadedness, confusion. So it's been a couple of days since then, but I, kind of just go through these periods of some of that coming back, especially some of the confusion and that. And then being a first-time marathoner, I'm finding out about things that I didn't know about, which are I get about 24 hours to 72 hours after you run, all the micro muscles that happens in your leg because you've run 25,000 steps. It starts, all that muscle freeness and soreness start to kick in. So, you know, I woke up this morning feeling a little bit like a Mack truck had hit me. And so I'm just kind of slowly getting back into everything. But probably the biggest thing has been that mental adjustment. Just trying to take my mind off it. I was so geared into it for 4 months, and you just get into the focus and the zone that I kind of have to let it go and kind of re-enter back into what kind of a normal routine.
So, first time marathon, last time marathon, or are you planning to kind of to keep this training up? And
but I believe a key component is, for me, especially as we talk about the challenges of a progressive disease and constantly adapting to declining hearing and vision, that exercise is a key component to keeping my mental state going and focused. It's a very positive thing for me that helps you do things. But because of my work with No Barriers and all the project that I do as an adventurer, I look more to, rather than multiple marathons, as to what is a potential project that helps us push the envelope and then use that as a vehicle to get the word out about assistive technologies and the possibilities for people with disabilities. So if there's another marathon that can help me achieve that same objective, I'm on board. I'm not afraid of the work. But I tend to find out that my project could be all over the map. So in the last few years, we've talked about, from Kilimanjaro to the Amazon to the Grand Canyon to running the Boston Marathon, I just try and stay open and see where it takes me.
so you don't know what that next big event is going to be.
No.
It usually somebody says something, or you see something, and then you
Absolutely.
say, "Hey, this is what we're doing next."
Absolutely.
Let's talk about the adventure in Amazon. What
Fantastic. I mean,
were you doing there?
so what we did is I came up with this idea called Hear the World Expedition, where we would get the next generation of kids with hearing loss to embrace their hearing loss and to be proud of their hearing loss and develop leadership skills, global citizenship skills, understand nature. Because I do believe that by taking people on a transformative experience at any time in their life, it opens up new chapters and ways for them to go that they never thought possible. So we thought, let's start doing this with some kids. So we took a group of them to the Amazon, and we went through the forest as well as the waters of the Amazon, and we explored sound. And they were able to hear sounds that they'd never heard before in their life, and also do service work in the Amazon, helping the people in the area. But it was really about getting a message out to kids around the world that, hey, embrace your challenges, but then you can also live a very powerful, full, and rich life within those constraints.
How important is that? Because, you know, I know some people who have different disabilities, and they have great personalities, great character, and it's almost as though their parents were the ones that kind of pushed them out of the nest, and it was this, hey, you're no different than anybody else. Go out there. Yeah, you're going to fall down, but you got to get out there. And, you know, maybe there's another segment where kids are kind of coddled a little bit who have disability. I mean, do you see some of that too? And it determines how you're going to pursue life.
There's no question that, and it's hard for parents, you know, because you have to, each kid is different, and set up, you know, the system to help them get ready for a life that would be with or without them as they grow older. But, you know, really, I mean, if you look at that process just like a marathon, I mean, you know, life is like a marathon. You know, it's got a certain distance to it. You don't know exactly what it is, and you're not going to call that distance. But the one of the things is some parts are going to go fast and easy, and other parts are going to be tough, hard, difficult to navigate, and you're not quite sure you're going to make it. But the most important thing is that don't minimize or deny what is. The biggest part of life is actually realizing that it is what it is. And it is what it is, but then start to really challenge yourself and push yourself to, well, what are the possibilities? And the possibilities are greater than you could ever thought be thought possible, because the biggest gift you could give the kid is to let them realize that with a no barriers mindset, what's within them is stronger than whatever is in their way, whether it be society or technology or a challenge that they're going for. But the most important thing is give that gift of hope, where the opportunity and the potential could be there, and then help them, develop that ability. But the other thing that you find as people go through the process, especially as they get older, is that they tend to be pushed aside, marginalized, or not in the mainstream of everything happening because it's safer, it's easier, and a lot of people also don't want to call attention to it, and they don't know how to address it. And I would basically have to say to you is that anytime you see someone with a disability, it is okay to acknowledge that they have a disability and ask if you can help in any way instead of duck it and avoid it. But the other part of it is that, let that be a powerful thing to them, because one of the things that we all have in common, with a disability or not, is everybody wants to contribute or make a difference in this world. And the thing is that the challenges don't have to be a Kilimanjaro or a Boston Marathon. The challenges of just getting around the block and being able to see your neighbors or see a friend, or to be able to get out and experience the community, can be just as powerful as a Kilimanjaro or a Boston Marathon experience. Because it's about being connected. We're all people, and we're social, and we all want to be a part of a community. So by pushing people to the side and letting them stay to the side, we're denying them community, which is where they derive their strength, their spirit, and their support. So we have toggle between both. So it's a very difficult thing to answer the question, but connection and people making a difference.
No, I think that's important for people to know, because I think the tendency for a lot of people is,
I don't know what to do. I don't know anybody with this. Should I acknowledge it or shouldn't I acknowledge it? What would they think if I do ask or say? But by and large, like anything in life, is that if you're honest and you're true and you simply truly do want to help, you'll find that they'll be so grateful that you wanted to be a part of them that it'll pay off in dividends.
So for you, to ask or to acknowledge it opens up a conversation that kind of opens doors, right? Get to know that person a little bit.
Well, that's why why these trips and these adventures become important, because you can set the goal and then you reach that goal and then a door opens. But the one thing that most people don't realize is all the other doors that open that you can't possibly imagine. And because you did that, things come forward to you to give you opportunities, like we just talked about, what's my next adventure? Because I've done a series of different types of adventures, have opened me up to groups and communities of people around the world that I would have never thought possible. And as a result of it, my life has gotten so much richer, so much fuller, and I feel like I'm helping and making a difference. So the connection becomes possible because I'm trying. And most of it is not because of whether I was successful or not. If I had failed at any one of these, people would have still been glad that I at least tried. And then that should give you satisfaction, because you're not doing it for other people. You're doing it because you want to challenge yourself and you want to grow yourself. And then from that, you start to experience the riches of what the world has to offer.
So for these teenagers that you were off in the Amazon with, you're still in contact with them?
Absolutely. And I did a second trip and just took a group, 17 of them, to the Grand Canyon. And we just spent a week in the Grand Canyon this last summer with them. And these kids are amazing in today's world, the way they've been mainstream, technology that's available to them. But we had some very frank conversations as teenagers about how difficult the world has become for them, because they have not been supported, because they've been treated as different. And imagine being in high school and they have 2 school buses. The buses for everybody that's normal, and then there's the bus with all the kids with disabilities, of which if you're hearing impaired, you get put on that bus. And they say, well, why can't I be on the other bus? Why do we have to have the separate buses? Or, why do teachers and other people assume that just because I don't hear it, well, I'm not as intelligent? There's all these types of things that start to get into kids who have self-esteem, and they're not known for speaking out because of their challenges. It's about getting them to feel stronger. And so, yes, I talk to them a lot. Facebook is a powerful thing nowadays. because we can stay in contact in many ways that we never thought possible years ago. And so it's always fun to see where they're going, what colleges they're up to, and all that kind of good stuff.
All right, Bill Barkley, thanks so much for stopping by.
Thank you.
Get some fluids in your system.
Yeah, I will.
Start eating again. Great message. Always appreciate all your adventures and how many people that you help in this world.
Thank you for your support. We really do appreciate it here in West Michigan.
And thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week.